Well, I'm back, quicker than normal. So what have we got here? What are we listening to? This is from Cuba on 530 kHz, Radio Rebelde. Probably from a transmitter on the western side of the island, and it's coming in remarkably clear. Much clearer than I've ever heard it before. And it took me a little while to identify it, and I got some great help from Tim Hall at the National Radio Club, and I appreciate his information very much. I learned quite a bit about this station, and if you are unfamiliar with the National Radio Club, I highly recommend you give it a look if you're interested in this kind of stuff. This is a sample of its newsletter, and there's some subscription information here on the back. And they're good folks, and these newsletters they publish bi-weekly or monthly, depending on the time of year, are a good source of information on DXing and long-distance listening. I highly recommend you give it a look. So, Radio Rebelde broadcasts on numerous frequencies, I found out. I had not even considered looking in my neglected copy of the World Radio TV Handbook, and yes, they are on numerous frequencies. And 530 is very clear in the United States because there's generally nothing on 530 except for traveler information stations. And you can hear that one from Antelope Island in the background. Radio Rebelde's interval signal, kind of like the NBC chimes, is right here at, fast forward, about 36 seconds in. And that little tone is very distinctive, and you can pick it out on a lot of its other frequencies throughout the band. I'd never even paid attention to it in the background. I'm going to go through some of the other frequencies it's on. At 600, 670. These are the ones that Tim recommended I look at, and I can hear it on a few. 600, 670, 1180, 1620, 1550 was another one that had a lot of frequencies listed, and I could definitely hear additional versions of this on 670 and 1180 and 1620. So I'm going to shut off the microphone and I'll go through those. Listen especially when I get to 670, because you can hear multiple transmitters coming in. You'll hear the chimes echo slightly as the different transmitter sites come in at slightly different times. So here we go.
Las noticias. Estos son los titulares. El recorrido de Viajanel por entidades en poder recibió Bruno Rodríguez, el dirigente de la Plaza. Amplio diálogo entre el Paso y Lula. El presidente de Viajanel registró que mueve sensibles actividades puntuales de la economía con incidencia en la de acabar el proceso para la exportación. El recorrido gubernamental incluyó al combinado members. Resurrection Radio is online at 670kltt.com, and Resurrection Radio is online at 670kltt.com. Resurrection Radio is online at 670kltt.com. And presented in crystal Daniel Webster. Full coverage of the Rocky Mountain region with the good news. You're tuned to AM 6. Full coverage. Have any board show symptoms. Cambodia allowed a certain charge in the case against Trump's longtime political confidant Roger Stone. Prosecutors wanted him to spend up to 9 years in prison, but the Justice Department said such a sentence would not be appropriate. Barr said the decision was his, but it only became public. Department said such a sentence would not be appropriate. Barr said the decision was his, but it only became public. Department said such a sentence would not be appropriate.
Barr said the decision was his, but it only is during 4, even though no one aboard showed for it. After 5 Asian nations turned it away out of coronavirus fear, even though no one 1,400. After 5 Asian nations turned it away out of coronavirus, the death toll nearing 1,400. After 5 Asian nations turned it away out of...
And I travel like 2 hours in my car every day. And that makes me so happy. How did you mentioned that you founded Radio Rebelde. Boy, that makes me so happy. How did you mentioned that you founded so thank you. Boy, that makes me so happy. How did you mentioned that I'm one of those people keep hitting that select button and something somebody was saying you like. So keep hitting that select button and something somebody was saying you like. So keep hitting that select button and something somebody was saying.
So there we go, Radio Rebelde. And there are some other Cuban stations that are potentially audible. I'm going to keep my ear open for them. In this case, the antenna was pointed directly at Cuba, so this was probably as good as I'm likely to hear them, except for a possibly exceptional clear night. But anyway, thank you very much for listening, and thank you again, Tim Hall, for the information. Appreciate it.